He never could have imagined it. He thought that getting a quest system would finally allow him to turn his pathetic life around. But the moment he went to press the start button, his finger accidentally brushed against a girl named Bai Kaylin as she walked by. She slapped him hard across the face, accusing him of being a total creep and harassing her. Then, she used that as an excuse to threaten him and snatch away his entire allowance. No one knows that this miserable cycle is just my daily life. Fight back? If I did that, all I'd get is an even more brutal beating from the upperclassmen. In the end, I always have to swallow my pride and apologize to everyone else. This pathetic version of Kim Soo-yeon only dares to act tough when he's at home with his mother. He rudely demanded that his mom let him drop out of school. After all, he wasn't learning a single damn thing in that hellhole anyway. Besides, he figured he could spend his time trying to make it big as a YouTube creator. But his younger sister, Kim Da-yeon, couldn't help but talk smack from the sidelines. Does this loser really think his life is some kind of action manhwa? Completely crushed by reality, I couldn't see the point in even living anymore. But just as my mind was spiraling into darkness, that quest window that had vanished during class suddenly flickered back to life right in front of me. Kim Soo-yeon didn't hesitate for a second. He slammed that start button. The system notified him that completing quests would earn him special cards. Before the real challenges began, he could complete a tutorial quest. All he had to do was apologize to his mother to receive one gold card. At the mention of a gold card, Soo-yeon bolted upright. He thought if he could sell a card made of gold, he'd be rich enough to change his life forever. But no matter how hard he reached out, he couldn't grab the floating card. Frustrated and desperate, he had no choice but to go find his mom. He muttered an apology to her for his shitty and impatient attitude earlier. The moment the quest complete notification popped up, his apology stopped mid-sentence. Da-yeon grumbled in disgust, convinced that her brother had finally lost his damn mind. But I didn't care about her. I had actually received the gold card from the tutorial. I rushed back to my room to admire the very first prize I had ever won. Gold card like this has to be worth at least $10,000. Trembling with excitement, I activated the card. Suddenly, a blinding, multicolored light exploded all around Kim Soo-yeon. A glowing golden consumable card manifested right before his eyes. My jaw hit the floor. I've been a loser my whole life, so I couldn't believe this was real. Since it was a one-time use item, I started to hesitate. But in the end, I grit my teeth and chose to use the card. I immediately ran to my mom to report the amazing news, because I had actually grown 3 centimeters taller in an instant. When I measured myself yesterday, I was only 168 centimeters. But after using that card, I jumped straight to 171. This made me realize without a doubt, this quest system was the real deal. The next day, Kim Soo-yeon headed to school, his heart racing with anticipation. After all, the taller and sturdier you are, the less likely you are to get bullied. All the students passing by noticed the sudden change in Kim Soo-yeon's height. As soon as those words were out, the quest system window popped up again. And completing the quest would grant him 1 gold card and 1 silver card. But while I was staring at the quest window, I accidentally bumped right into Baek Chai-rin. Because of that, the system designated Baek Chai-rin as the target for this quest. At that moment, Kim Soo-yeon was completely shell-shocked. Because the quest actually wanted him to kiss Baek Chai-rin? Staring at the shameless pervert standing in front of her, Baek Chai-rin was ready to beat him to a pulp right then and there. But just as she raised her hand, a sudden thought stopped her. Come to think of it, getting hit by her was actually seen as a reward by some. At least, that's the rumor that's been going around this school. Watching Baek Chai-rin walk away, I immediately opened the quest system. Just as I was about to give up on the quest, a warning message popped up. If Kim Soo-yeon chose to forfeit the mission, then all the previous rewards would be revoked. And from that moment on, the quest system would cease to exist. Seeing the warning, the pathetic Kim Soo-yeon could only seethe in useless rage. The students nearby all thought he'd finally lost his mind. Only he knew that he absolutely couldn't give up. He absolutely could not go back to being only 168 centimeters tall. But then again, how on earth was he supposed to bring something like that up? Besides, there was no way a top-tier girl like Baek Chai-rin would ever date someone like him. He'd be lucky if she didn't just beat him to death in the end. But suddenly, someone behind him said they'd be down for a kiss. I turned around excitedly, only to realize it was my classmate, Sanji. He was a pathetic loser just like me, someone everyone picked on. Even though he looked like a total badass who knew how to fight. In reality, he was just like me, only good for taking a beating. Since we were both in the same miserable boat, I asked Sanji how a guy could get a girl he barely knew to kiss him. Sanji suggested that if I offered her some money and asked nicely, it might work. Kim Soo-yeon was impressed, thinking Sanji really did have the brain of a genius. After all, money is the one thing nobody can say no to. So, I decided to try and borrow some cash from Sanji first. Turns out, his wallet was even emptier than mine. Sanji apologized for giving such useless advice. But he added that if I wanted to kiss her, I'd need to get her alone first. Sanji was right about that. But how was I ever going to get some alone time with Baek Chai-rin? Wait, there might actually be one way. And that's the one and only PE class we have every afternoon. See, Baek Chai-rin always skips it by pretending to be sick so she can stay in the classroom. Once Baek Chai-rin finally woke up from her nap, the others noticed that Kim Soo-yeon wasn't participating in the physical training either. Even though he was finally alone with Baek Karen, he had no idea how to bring that up. Little did he know, Karen actually thought he'd been peeping on her while she slept. She used that as an excuse to blackmail him into buying her some strawberry milk. But what she didn't realize was that I had already prepared the strawberry milk before my plan even began. Right now, I'm still torn between playing it cool or just forcing the issue. Just as Karen was about to take a sip of the milk, I suddenly swiped the carton right out of her hand. Then, I started chugging that milk down like a man possessed. After finishing most of it, I slammed the carton onto the desk with all my might. All of this was just liquid courage, before I made my big move. Then, I shouted at her at the top of my lungs, "Baek Karen, can we kiss?" But she just looked at me and said, "Do you have a death wish, or do you just want to go to the police station?" Seeing that she was actually about to call the cops, I scrambled to tell her I was just joking to lighten the mood. But it turned out my pathetic performance had been caught on camera. The one filming was none other than Choi Chang-dong, the guy who bullies me every single day. That moment, I felt more miserable than if I'd actually been beaten up. This was about the only shred of dignity a man has left. Kim Soo-yeon desperately begged Chang-dong to delete the video, but maybe Soo-yeon's voice was just too damn loud. Fed up, Chang-dong buried a heavy fist right into Soo-yeon's face. He sneered, "So you think you're the only one who can joke around with Baek Karen? Does that mean we can't have a little fun with you, Kim Soo-yeon? After all, we just want to be friends with you." Seeing Soo-yeon clutching his face and refusing to answer, Chang-dong decided to give him another lesson. Seeing things were about to spiral out of control, Baek Karen immediately grabbed Chang-dong. She demanded that he delete the video he just took right then and there. Hearing her command, Chang-dong had no choice but to back off. Besides, none of those punks dared to mess with Baek Karen anyway. Once the whole farce was over, Karen told Soo-yeon to just take the day off and go home. "Get out of here before you get your head kicked in again, you moron." Back at home, Soo-yeon had completely given up on life. If I'd known it would end like this, I would have ditched that damn quest from the start. Now, not only did I fail the mission, but I got the crap beaten out of me for nothing. Even the glasses my mom saved up so much to buy me were smashed to pieces. Soo-yeon just sat there in silence, waiting for the system to take back his rewards. But the next second, a notification pinged. Quest complete. Turned out Karen had forgotten that he'd already drunk from that bottle of milk. By drinking after him, it counted as an indirect kiss, which just happened to complete the quest. Soo-yeon nearly broke his brain trying to figure out how the hell he actually pulled it off. At this point, Kim Soo-yeon didn't waste another second overthinking. He immediately barked out the command to activate the cards. Suddenly, one gold card and one silver card materialized right in front of him. He remembered that his last gold card was a single-use item that could change his height. So, the one before his eyes now had to be the one to restore his vision. Blind as a bat without his glasses, Kim Soo-yeon stared at the card intensely. Without a moment's hesitation, he shouted the order to use it. The second the card was activated, he felt a strange sensation washing over his eyes. His blurry, distorted vision slowly began to sharpen and clear up. He couldn't help but marvel at the godlike power of this quest system. In the midst of his joy, he remembered there was still one silver card left to use. Although it probably wasn't as powerful as the gold one, he was dying to know what kind of ability he'd get next. As soon as he gave the command to use the silver card, an offensive type card for boxing techniques appeared before him. Overjoyed, Kim Soo-yeon bolted out of his room. He wanted to tell his mom the amazing news that his eyes were finally fixed. But as he looked around, he only saw Kim Da-yeon sitting alone at the dining table. She looked at him coldly and told him never to speak to her at school. To her, having such a pathetic loser for a brother was a total embarrassment. The moment he got back to the classroom, Choi Chang-dong was already there waiting for him. The bully threatened him, ordering him to show up at the back gate during lunch break. When he returned to his seat, San-chi quietly apologized to him. Even though they'd agreed not to step in when the other was getting beaten. Those bastards had really crossed the line today. Kim Soo-yeon gritted his teeth, wondering why he had to live like such a coward his whole life. Lunchtime came, and just like always, Kim Soo-yeon was being used as a punching bag. Choi Chang-dong threw a cigarette butt on the ground and ordered him to go pick it up. Hoping to avoid more pain, Kim Soo-yeon had no choice but to obey like a dog. But as he crawled toward the cigarette, he suddenly froze. His younger sister, Da-yeon, had been standing there, watching him the whole time. She stared down at him, asking what on earth he was doing crawling around on the floor. And Choi Chang-dong realized the girl in front of him was Soo-yeon's sister. His entire attitude toward her changed instantly. He acted like a nice guy, claiming they were just playing around and telling her to head back to class. But the moment she left, a disgusting, wicked grin spread across his face. He muttered that he should probably start getting a lot closer to Su-yun from now on. Later, in the bathroom, he cornered Su-yun and told him to introduce his sister. He laughed, saying it was better to keep the good stuff within their own circle. He even made a crude comment about how fit and flexible her body looked. Hearing that scumbag talk about his sister like a piece of meat, Kim Su-yun stood there, completely paralyzed with rage. Suddenly, one of the bathroom stall doors burst open with a loud bang. Sanji charged out from the toilet, screaming at Choi Chang-dong, calling him a filthy piece of trash. But before he could finish his sentence, a heavy fist slammed into his face. Choi Chang-dong was beating the hell out of Sanji, hurling insults at the poor loser. I couldn't stand it anymore and barked at Choi to stop right then and there. I snarled at him, "You're the one who's a pathetic loser, you piece of trash." Hearing that, Choi went absolutely ballistic. He'd bullied so many people, but not a single one of them had ever dared to fight back. I saw his fist flying straight at my face. In a split second, I activated the silver jab card I'd gotten yesterday. My fist sliced through the air, letting out a sharp whistle. Before Choi could even blink, my punch landed perfectly right on his jaw. I growled at him that I could handle him bullying me. But I wasn't about to let him lay a finger on my sister, Kim Da-yun. Right then, the system notification popped up. Quest: defeat Choi Chang-dong. Seeing the reward was 1 silver card and 1 bronze card, I didn't hesitate and launched another heavy jab straight at his face. The bastard was baffled. Why the hell did a loser like me know how to box? Seeing that the thick-skinned Choi still had some fight left in him, Kim Su-yun immediately tensed his muscles, his arm becoming like a coiled spring. The jab shot out like a viper striking its prey. It was so fast that all you could see were blurry afterimages. With one final, lightning-fast jab from Su-yun, and with Sanji watching from the side with his jaw on the floor, I slammed Choi Chang-dong face first into the dirt. The sound of the "quest complete" notification pinged in my ear. Plus, my jab proficiency had leveled up. Before I could even catch my breath, Sanji suddenly grabbed my hand. He was panicking, saying we had to get the hell out of there and find somewhere safe. Even though the two of them ditched Choi and made a run for it, Sanji couldn't shake the feeling that the nightmare was only just beginning. Because those punks always move in packs. Going back to class meant they'd just run into an even meaner group of school bullies. While they ran, Sanji asked me when I'd learned to fight like that. Since he didn't know anything about the power-up cards, I just lied and told him I learned it all from watching YouTube. Now, I was really curious. What happens when my proficiency hits 100%? First things first, though, I needed to claim those silver and bronze reward cards. When Su-yun saw the unique effects of the cards, he was stunned. He never imagined a card could do something like this. Just then, Baek Chai-rin showed up with 2 friends and asked what we were doing. Su-yun thought, damn it, it looked like she was looking for him too. Baek Chai-rin told us that the whole gang was out for our blood right now. She said she'd look the other way and pretend she never saw us. She even warned us to just go home as fast as we could. But we'd barely taken a few steps before we ran smack into 3 of them. Those 3 couldn't wrap their heads around how Choi could have been taken down by a guy like me. Immediately after, they started chasing away all the other students who were hanging around. Right now, I'm terrified that guy might show up. He's a total monster who dominated the entire grade with his boxing the second he started school. I'm talking about Ji-yu Haejin, the boss of West Gangbuk High, a guy who's never lost a single fight. One of Haejin's lackeys immediately went to snitch, telling him that Choi Chang-dong had been knocked out cold. Even Haejin couldn't believe a scrawny kid like me could actually take down someone like Chang-dong. So, he came over and demanded to know why Kim Su-yun had laid out his man. Su-yun stood his ground, saying it was because the guy insulted his family first. But that reason wasn't good enough for Ji-yu Haejin. He stared him down and asked Su-yun if he actually thought he was some kind of tough guy. Then, Haejin dared Su-yun to take a swing and hit him right then and there. He made it clear, if Su-yun didn't make a move, then he'd be the one doing the hitting. A few jerks nearby were already grinning, waiting to watch the show. Haejin told him, if you actually land a hit, I'll let you off the hook this time. I thought to myself, surely the boss of West Gangbuk High wouldn't go back on his word. So, I pulled out the silver and bronze cards I'd just earned. The silver card allows me to restore my stamina once every single day. The bronze card lets out a high-pitched scream that can completely stun an enemy. Kim Su-yun knew he was cornered either way. He figured it was better to strike first than to just stand there and get pulverized. But he didn't realize that his rank F jab wouldn't even graze the guy. Instead, the guy countered with a heavy punch that knocked him out instantly. 2.5 minutes later, Su-yun finally blinked his eyes open. Looking at Ji-yu Haejin standing over him, Su-yun immediately regretted ever fighting back. But just as he scrambled up, ready for the next beating, Haejin did something totally weird. He invited him to the bathroom for a smoke. Just like that, Su-yun was dragged right into the middle of that pack of thugs. And then, Haejin, the big boss himself, actually offered him a cigarette. Su-yun quickly waved his hands, telling him he didn't smoke. He'd expected this guy to be some heartless demon. But at that moment, Ji Haejin actually looked at him and apologized. "You're a much better fighter than I thought you were," he said. It turns out Haejin had countered instinctively because he felt the threat. Boss mentioned he'd been training in boxing for a long time. But even he wasn't half as good as Suyin when he first started out. Once I got home, I couldn't wrap my head around what Haejin was up to. What if he's just being nice now so he can beat me even harder tomorrow? But unfortunately, I don't have any quests active right now, which means I can't earn any new cards for the time being. I heard there are cards even more powerful than gold, silver, or bronze. But it seems like every card I get is always tied to fighting somehow. The next day, sitting at my desk, I was mentally prepared to get my face kicked in. Before class even started, Choi Changdong came looking for me. In an instant, I tensed up, ready for a fight. The guy just said, "Haejin wants you to wait for him after school." And before Suyin could even ask why, the guy hurried off. I thought to myself, I'm totally screwed. Without any cards, how could I ever be a match for Ji Haejin? When night fell, Kim Suyin headed over to the KTV they'd agreed on. After all, showing up on time to take his beating was the best move he could make. Once there, I saw a lot of the big shots from school. Kim Suyin was desperately wondering, how could he turn 2 punches into just 1? But suddenly, Beck Karen looked at him in total surprise. She asked what on earth I was doing in a place like this. Right then, Ji Haejin invited the newcomer, Kim Suyin, to get up and sing a song first. Even though Kim Suyin didn't know the first thing about singing, it just so happened that his bronze quest card for high notes kicked in right then. The way he sang actually made someone like her, Beck Karen, with her million followers, just freeze in shock. The other girls nearby couldn't help but stare at him. Even Ji Haejin was blown away by Kim Suyin's incredible singing skills. Feeling shy, I asked everyone what was wrong. Beck Karen had honestly thought that he'd just get up and sing some random anime theme song or something. The girls were also completely stunned by the high notes Kim Suyin hit at the end. Kim Suyin was confused. Why weren't they beating him up? Instead, they were all shouting and carrying on about wanting him to teach them how to sing. At that moment, I realized that Ji Haejin was actually a pretty decent guy. After everything that happened yesterday, I felt a lot more hopeful about my life. Ji Haejin told me that if anything ever came up, I could just talk to him. He even said he'd secretly look out for his little buddy, Pheasant. But I barely walked a few steps when I ran right into Ji Haejin again. The second I saw him, the system's main quest triggered. I was shocked to see that the reward for this main quest was a platinum card I'd never even seen before. But the terrifying part was that it wanted me to defeat the boss of Gangbuk West High himself, Ji Haejin. I was completely speechless. With just an F-rank jab, I couldn't even touch the guy. And now you want me to beat Ji Haejin within 3 days? Even if the main quest seems impossible right now, side quests also open up alongside the main story, which means there are more ways for me to get combat power cards. By the time lunch rolled around, my mind was completely elsewhere. Ji Haejin might have a terrible reputation, but after hanging out with him, he's actually a really kind-hearted guy. With someone like that caring for me and looking out for me, why the hell would I want to pick a fight with him? I suddenly started thinking about just giving up on the quest. I mean, since I'm already good bros with Ji Haejin now, people won't just bully me for no reason anymore anyway. But just as I went looking for Ji Haejin, I saw Choi Changdong getting the absolute crap beaten out of him by that guy. No matter how much he begged for mercy, Haejin didn't flinch. He was stone cold. Seeing him like that, it just left me feeling completely sick and discouraged. Baek Chai-rin stood there and scoffed. You didn't actually think he was a good person, did you? The truth is, Ji Haejin is a total monster who will do anything for his own gain. The only reason Changdong is getting thrashed is because the cash he brought in wasn't enough. Kim Suyin panicked, saying he had already handed over a huge amount himself. But Chai-rin just laughed it off. All that money? It all ends up right in Haejin's pockets anyway. He might act like he is looking out for you now. But the second you fail to bring in enough cash, you're going to end up exactly like Choi Changdong. Right then, Haejin noticed Suyin watching from the sidelines. Suyin didn't beat around the bush. He asked him straight up why he had been so kind to him. Haejin just shrugged and said, I only kept you around because you actually know how to fight. He told him that before they met, everyone else around here was just useless trash with 0 real skills. So that was it. Haejin only wanted him because he was a useful tool for boxing. If he abandoned the quest, his boxing cards would vanish instantly. Without those skills, he would be tossed out like garbage just like the rest of them. He realized then, there was no turning back. He had to walk this dark path to the end. Late that night, he snuck out, desperate to level up his jab skill. But no matter how hard he trained, even until he collapsed from exhaustion, the level didn't budge a single bit. All he had left in his arsenal were those recovery beans and the high-pitched shout card. There is no way he could take down Haejin with just those two. Suddenly, a pack of low-life delinquents cornered him. They politely asked if he could spare a little cash for their bus fare. Seeing them close in, Suyin knew exactly what kind of trash he was dealing with. Before the leader could even blink, a sharp jab landed right on his face. That's when it happened, his jab proficiency finally started to climb. It clicked for him right then, he needed real, live combat to level up his skills. Just like that, his jab rank jumped from rank F to rank E. These pathetic thugs still had the nerve to try and shake him down for protection money. Suyun's fist moved like a bolt of lightning, smashing straight into the guy's jaw. With the level up, the difference was night and day. He was faster, and his punches carried a hell of a lot more power. With this kind of strength, he might actually be able to take on Gu Heijin. As one of the punks collapsed in a heap on the ground, the other four started to swarm, determined to teach him a lesson he would never forget. Right then, the system's side quest flashed before his eyes. If he took down all 5 of them, he would earn a silver card. Looking at the guys rushing him all at once, Suyun didn't panic. He just calmly adjusted his vest, ready for a fight. He dropped into his boxing stance, ready to flatten every last one of those punks. Driven by the mysterious system and its relentless quests, Kim Suyun continues his journey. He went from being a bullied nobody to a total powerhouse. The system's quests all revolve around his physical transformation and intense social clashes. While he kept grinding through missions to earn rewards and level up, he also learned to stand his ground and protect his friends through one fight after another. Finally, he made the ultimate transformation, from a weak coward to a true warrior. The man never would have guessed just how insane he'd become after activating the quest power-up system. Simply by pushing his cards to the limit, he forced his body to go far beyond its natural breaking point. In a heartbeat, he completely crushed Jiyu Ha-jun, the top dog of Zhongbei West High. And as a reward, he even snagged a platinum card called Peeping. I let out a sly smirk, my eyes wandering over Bai Kai-lin's well-defined curves. The moment I activated the card with my fingertips, Bai Kai-lin immediately turned bright red. It all started about 2.5 days ago. Kim Soo-yun was training alone when some local punks tried to shake him down for protection money. Soo-yun didn't hesitate, he struck first, taking one of them out right away. But even with one guy already eating dirt, there were still 4 more thugs chasing him down, refusing to let him go. If he got cornered now, it was game over. He had to find the right moment to split them up and take them on one by one. So, Soo-yun lured the 4 of them into a deep, shadowy alleyway. Thinking the sheep had walked right into the tiger's den, the thugs started smirking like idiots. His stamina was hitting 0, so Soo-yun immediately popped a bronze card, the recovery bean. Seeing an opening, the blonde-haired guy lunged forward for an attack. But he had no idea that Soo-yun's jab actually had a built-in counterattack feature. The moment the blonde guy was dazed, Soo-yun instantly pivoted to the right. His jabs lashed out like a striking viper, hitting the blonde guy over and over again. The other 3 were baffled. Wait, didn't this kid just run out of breath? As he grew more and more comfortable with the jab skill, Soo-yun could now attack however and whenever he wanted. Suddenly, he activated the high pitch card, completely stunning the whole group. Then, he landed a perfectly timed jab right on the punk's chin. The side quest was finished in a flash. What's more, he even triggered the system's hidden condition to achieve victory without taking a single hit during the entire fight. Because he pulled it off, his reward was upgraded from a silver card to a gold one. That runaway move earlier actually turned out to be a stroke of genius that met the hidden requirement. Excited, Soo-yun gave the system the order to flip the card. But once he saw what the card actually did, he was just confused. Next day, sitting back at his desk, Soo-yun couldn't help but feel the pressure. He only had 8 hours left to take down the legendary Jiyu Ha-jun. But right now, all he had in his deck were E-rank cards like Jab and Recovery Bean. Counting High Pitch and yesterday's gold card, he only had 4 cards in total. Could he really win against the boss of Zhongbei West High with just 4 measly cards? If he loses, he'll go right back to being that spineless loser he used to be. Standing nearby, Ji-dao noticed that Soo-yun looked incredibly pale and worried. Watching Ji-dao, who cared about him and even took beatings in his place every single day, Kim Soo-yun felt deeply moved, thinking he'd finally found himself a true friend. Just as he said that, Gu Heijin walked straight into the classroom. He invited Kim Soo-yun to head over to the school store with him. As Soo-yun stood up, his mind was racing, trying to figure out how to pick a fight with the guy. Right at that moment, 2 other students were just getting back from the shop. Ice cream. One of them stammered, ice cream, toward Gu Heijin, trembling with fear. But Gu Heijin, the boss of Gangbuk West High, wasn't someone just anyone could mess with. And just like that, the poor student was given a brutal lesson. Kim Soo-yun watched Gu Heijin with ice-cold eyes. He felt like a guy like this really deserved a good thrashing. But seriously, what makes a guy like you any different from a piece of trash? Gu Heijin looked confused. Are you trying to provoke me? The very second Heijin raised his hand to strike him, Soo-yun got ready to use the brand new gold card he'd just obtained. That surge of confidence came purely from the power of the gold card. But in the end, Heijin just placed his hand gently on Soo-yun's head. He actually thought Suyin was upset because he'd been bullying the kids in their class. He assumed that was the reason Suyin was so angry with him. Besides, he figured, why on earth would friends ever need to fight? To show he was sorry, Heijin offered to take Suyin out for a nice meal. Still, the rumor that Kim Suyin had challenged Ku Heijin spread through the entire grade like wildfire. People were baffled that someone actually had the guts to mess with the boss of Gangbuk West High. Right now, Kim Suyin had no idea how he was supposed to finish Quest 7. The guy really seemed to consider him a genuine friend, no matter how cruel or heartless the rumors made Ku Heijin out to be. It really felt like the guy actually liked him. By now, there wasn't much time left on the mission clock. At this rate, the whole thing might really end before he could even do anything. Standing nearby, Jidao knew Suyin was still stressing over the Ku Heijin situation. Seeing how miserable Suyin looked, Jidao assumed he was being bullied again. With a look of pure determination, Jidao made up his mind and walked away. Not long after Jidao left, Beck Karen showed up looking for Suyin. Beck Karen was skeptical. Do you really want to beat up Ku Heijin? Are you seriously this mad just because some kids in the class got bullied? But Suyin just shot back, asking her why she even bothered being friends with a guy like Heijin. After all, Beck Karen had actually helped him when he was getting beaten up before. Even though she hung out with that crowd, she never laid a finger on anyone else. So, Suyin felt that, deep down, she was actually a kind person. Right then, Karen warned him that he'd better not overstep. After all, their relationship hadn't exactly reached the friend level yet. Suddenly, someone rushed over to tell Suyin that something huge had happened. Jidao had actually gone to pick a fight with Ku Heijin, all for Suyin's sake. Meanwhile, Jidao had already approached Ku Heijin's lackeys. They immediately recognized him as Kim Suyin's little shadow. Since Kim Suyin and Ku Heijin were supposed to be friends. They sneered, so you think you're Heijin's friend now too? Besides, just looking at your old man face pisses me off. But before the punch could land, Heijin shouted for them to stop. Heijin asked coldly what the hell he wanted. Jidao mustered all his courage and begged Heijin to stop bullying Kim Suyin. Before he could even finish, Heijin put all his weight into a slap that sent Jidao flying. The three guys nearby gasped, thinking Heijin was a total psycho. Heijin stated that he and Kim Suyin were friends. And he added that he absolutely loathed people like Jidao. There are levels to this world, he said coldly. You're supposed to stay with people of your own rank. You say I'm bullying Kim Suyin? If anything, you're the one bullying him. Being seen with someone like you just drags Kim Suyin's status through the mud. But Jidao stood his ground, saying Suyin would never choose his friends based on something like that. The words had barely left his mouth when a sharp jab slammed right into Heijin's face. The subordinates watched in total shock as Kim Suyin threw the punch. Heijin stared back, confused that Suyin actually dared to lay a hand on him. Kim Suyin then looked at Jidao with dead seriousness. If you weren't in my life, I never would have survived this school. The news spread through the entire school like wildfire. That loser, Kim Suyin, was actually fighting the boss of Gangbuk West High. Jidao just stood there, stunned that Suyin was actually putting his life on the line for him. If no one stopped this, Suyin was going to get absolutely destroyed. Heijin asked, wait, I thought we were friends? Friends? In this school, Jidao is the only friend I have. Then, Suyin boldly declared he'd take Heijin down in just 5 seconds. All the students watching thought he had finally lost his mind. Beating the boss of Gangbuk West High was nothing but a pipe dream. But Kim Suyin still had a gold card hidden up his sleeve. First, he decided to test the waters with his newly strengthened jab. To his surprise, even his upgraded jab couldn't touch Heijin. No matter how many times he swung, he couldn't even graze him. He was managing to keep him at bay for the moment. But Suyin knew that at this rate, he was going to lose. Watching from the sidelines, Choi Changdong noticed the problem too. Kim Suyin was a one-trick pony. He only knew that one jab. In a fight, once your opponent reads your only move, you're finished. As Heijin looked down at the struggling Kim Suyin, it finally clicked for him too. The guy was a complete amateur. He literally only knew how to jab. But Kim Suyin just mumbled under his breath, just give me 5 seconds. Ku Heijin roared in fury, are you out of your damn mind? You really think you can beat me with just a single jab? I'd actually been thinking about this back at home. My jab has definitely gotten stronger. But there's no way I can take down Ku Heijin with a jab alone. That's why I have to use the gold card I got from the side quest as my trump card. It's a gold card called Limit Breaker. It allows the user to gain an extra 100 kilograms of weight for 5 seconds. If I combine that with some jujitsu or a solid tackle, I might just be able to turn the tables at the very last second. Right now, I'm moving like a madman, desperate to get close to Ku Heijin. But all that's waiting for me are his heavy, crushing punches. Watching from the side, Choi Changdong could tell Suyin was fishing for a tackle. But with such a massive gap in their physiques, how could a tackle ever work? To make those 5 seconds of limit breaker count, I have to get in close. The moment he said it, Suyin used his high-pitch skill to close the distance. But he was met with nothing but blow after heavy blow. Still, I can't stop here. Not now. Even if I'm taking a beating, I have to wear him out. Because it's usually when an opponent lets their guard down that the moment for success finally arrives. Seeing that he finally had his arms around Ku Heijin, Suyun immediately activated his bronze card, the Recovery Bean skill. Ku Heijin stood there stunned for a second, then started swearing up a storm. His underlings knew better than anyone what happened when he started cursing like that. It meant Ku Heijin was about to tear Kim Suyun limb from limb. But when Heijin reached out to grab him, he realized something was very wrong. Kim Suyun felt as heavy and immovable as a giant boulder. After activating the card, Suyun's weight had shot up to 156 kilograms. And if his weight hit 156, his raw power would scale right along with it. He now possessed the sheer, brutal strength of a 156 kilogram beast. Before anyone could blink, Ku Heijin was slammed violently into the dirt. Suyun immediately ripped off his jacket. He moved like lightning, locking his arms in a tight clinch. He threw all 156 kilograms of that overwhelming force into Ku Heijin. Heijin never in a million years expected a move like this. In that very last second of Limit Breaker, Suyun unleashed a flurry of devastating punches, finishing Ku Heijin off for good. As the Limit Breaker skill finally wore off, Ku Heijin sat there, admitting he'd been completely and utterly defeated. Right then, the notification for completing the main quest popped up. The surrounding classmates stood frozen, their shocked expressions etched on their faces. Even Baek Chai-rin was caught completely off guard by the outcome. Even by the next day, the students couldn't stop buzzing about what they'd seen. After all, who would have ever thought Gu Heijin would actually lose? He even got wrecked by that total loser, Kim Suyun. Suddenly, the whole class starts shouting that the new boss of Gangbuk West High is here. After what happened yesterday, Suyun somehow became the top dog overnight. But Suyun doesn't care about that. He only has eyes for the platinum card from the quest. A platinum card that he worked his tail off to get. No matter how you look at it, it's gotta be way better than a gold card like, over the limit, right? Without wasting a second, Suyun activates the platinum card in his hand. A platinum card called Peak appears right before his eyes. He's so annoyed, why isn't it a combat card? He really thought he'd get some technical skill even better than his jab. But then again, maybe this card could be pretty useful in its own way. After dealing with the cards, Suyun walks out with Wuxia. The moment he steps out, people start calling him a sly dog. They say he faked being a weakling just to hide his true strength. And then waited for the perfect moment to sneakily take down his opponent. On top of that, even Wuxia has become Suyun's personal, gold medal enforcer. These wild rumors are spreading like wildfire, and they're nothing but a massive headache for him. He hasn't even walked a few steps before he bumps into someone. He looks up and realizes he's just run into someone he definitely shouldn't have messed with. But to his shock, as soon as the guy realizes he's talking to Kim Suyun, this first-year boss named Lee Hyeondong actually bows and greets him. Suyun has absolutely no idea what's going on right now. The guy explains, "You're the new boss of Gangbuk West High. Since I'm your junior, of course I had to come pay my respects." But Suyun doesn't want to be anyone's boss. All he wants is to just go to school like a normal person. But the guy gets all dramatic and asks, "Are you really going to abandon us?" Suyun snaps back that he has no intention of hanging out with them at all. He still can't wrap his head around what their deal is. But Wuxia knows exactly what they're after, unifying all of Gangbuk. Right now, Gangbuk is basically a total war zone. The 4 strongest high schools are constantly fighting to expand their territory. While Gu Heijin couldn't care less about unifying the schools, Lee Hyeondong is desperate to help Suyun take over all of Gangbuk. But right at that moment, the main quest suddenly popped up. It was a 3-stage mission, Unify Jongbei West High. If he gives up or fails the quest, the system will take back every single reward he's ever won. He'd be forced right back into being that pathetic loser from before. With no other choice, he has to call back the 3 guys who were just leaving. Suyun puts on an act and tells them he was just testing them. From this moment on, I'm the one taking over Gangbuk West High. The other 3 immediately start cheering their heads off at his words. Back at his seat, Suyun can't help but feel a cold shiver down his spine. Every single time things get serious, this damn system has to come and ruin his life. But then again, I haven't even used this platinum card yet. Right as Suyun was spacing out, Chai-rin suddenly sat down right in front of him. After all, the rumors about Suyun had already spread like wildfire through the school. "I heard you're actually planning to take over West High and unite all of Gangbuk?" But suddenly, Chai-rin felt like there was something wrong with the way Suyun was looking at her. Suyun secretly activated the Peak card. Chai-rin instantly felt a wave of discomfort wash over her. Then, her body started to flush and she felt a sudden rush of heat. But the reality was nothing like what Suyun had expected. It turns out the Peak function only lets him see the other person's attribute panel. Still, Chai-rin snapped that she suddenly felt really gross. Before Suyun could even explain, she slapped him right across the face. Once Chai-rin left, Suyun checked his own attribute panel. He couldn't believe his current stats were so low, he wasn't even a match for Chai Rin. After lunch break, Hyeon Dong and the other two found Su Yun. Hyeon Dong handed a blood-stained envelope over to Su Yun. He told him it was the protection money they'd collected for the month. Su Yun roared at them, demanding to know why they'd taken it again. But in Hyeon Dong's ears, it sounded like he was complaining they hadn't collected enough. Su Yun was totally lost. He had no idea how things had spiraled this far. With no other choice, Su Yun decided to check the guy's status. Just as he thought, the guy was nothing but a low-life thug. Su Yun made up his mind. He absolutely couldn't let this guy drag him into his mess. But Hyeon Dong insisted, "You have to attend the inauguration ceremony for the boss of West High." The moment he said that, the main system quest updated as well. Buckling under the pressure of the system quest, Su Yun found himself standing at the podium as the boss of the West High Assembly. Hyeon Dong began explaining the plan to unite Gangbuk, starting with Gangbuk East High. First off, the guys at East High are a bunch of total lunatics who just look for trouble. The boss of East High is a complete and utter psychopath. Then there's Gangbuk South High. Compared to the East, they're practically model students. But even so, the boss of South High is actually a decent person. That's why we can't let them take over Gangbuk West High. After all, they've already started getting suspicious of Su Yun, a monster of a bully who ties his undershirt into an X shape. The boss of Gangbuk West High, famously known as Undershirt Kim Su Yun. Su Yun screamed, wondering where such a ridiculous rumor even came from. He declared right then and there that he was done with fighting for good. Otherwise, these weird rumors would never stop spreading. But Hyeon Dong asked, "Then what are we going to do about the Gangbuk Grand Assembly?" To his surprise, Su Yun was dead set on just being an ordinary student. I mean, why on earth should he have to protect West High anyway? As soon as she got home from school, Da-Yun immediately cornered Su Yun, demanding to know what he'd done. Everyone at school was calling her the sister of Undershirt Kim Su Yun. He even threatened that if Kim Su Yun dared to show his face at the Gangbuk Union meeting, he'd tell his mom everything he'd been up to. Meanwhile, over at Gangbuk East High, a lackey was reporting the news that Ji Haejin had been defeated. But as soon as the words left his mouth, Han Jae, the boss of East High, sent him flying with a single kick. He warned the kid that he shouldn't bother him with this kind of useless news ever again. At the same time, the crew at Gangbuk South High had already heard rumors about the new guy in charge, Kim Soo-yun. After all, the big Gangbuk Union meeting was right around the corner. That would be the perfect time to see if this undershirt, Kim Soo-yun, was actually worth the hype. At the South High camp, back with Lee Hundong, he was still wondering if Kim Soo-yun was just testing his loyalty. But then, out of nowhere, his phone rang. It was a call from Kim Soo-yun. It turns out Soo-yun's next mission was to attend that very same Gangbuk Union meeting. And the rewards this time were so massive, there was absolutely no reason to turn it down. This episode follows our main man, Kim Soo-yun. Right after he scores the Beyond the Limit card, we see him growing through his intense clashes with big shots like Ji Haejin on campus. Using the power of his cards, Soo-yun manages to crush his opponents. But now he's stuck dealing with the heavy responsibility and the rumors of being the boss of Gangbuk. Because of that, he's forced right into the middle of the Gangbuk Union drama. The story really dives into the balance between power, responsibility, and finding out who you really are. It shows his journey from being a victim of circumstances to finally making his own choices. Plus, it leaves some pretty big clues about the secrets of the cards and the rival factions in Gangbuk. The guy just got his hands on a seriously bizarre ability. Instead of hurting, getting punched actually feels kind of good. And get this, every time he gets beaten up in front of a girl, he earns stack points. Once those points hit 5, something amazing is bound to happen. In just 2.5 seconds, his own strength shoots up by 2 whole levels. If he stacks it with 5 seconds of godlike power from Beyond the Limit, his stats suddenly skyrocket to a terrifying A rank. This insane turn of events left Beck Karen standing there, completely speechless. But let's go back to how this all started, 2.5 days ago. Today is finally the day of the annual Gangbuk Union meeting. Before heading out, I used my peak skill on Gukya. I never expected his potential to be a straight-up S rank. And with that, the 3 of them from Gangbuk West High officially started their journey toward the Gangbuk Union meeting. Soo-yun couldn't believe the meeting was actually happening at a creepy, abandoned construction site. Lee Hundong mentioned that this place is basically cut off from the rest of the world. If someone were to, disappear in there, nobody would ever find out. Soo-yun started panicking, thinking there'd be tons of scary monsters waiting inside. He was terrified he'd get jumped the second he stepped through the door. But to his surprise, the guys from Gangbuk South High were already there waiting. They recognized him instantly as the new boss of Gangbuk West, Kim Soo-yun. Their leader introduced himself as Kong Sok, the head of South High. He gave a little smile and said, "Since we're the same age, maybe we can be friends?" Man, everyone from Jongbei South High seems so nice. Kim Soo-yun feels like he was just stressing out for nothing. Li Yundong warns him not to be fooled by that friendly smile. Even if they don't know what's really going on inside Kang Sok's head. A truly kind person doesn't become a boss for no reason. In fact, that guy might be the most dangerous person in all of Zhongbei. But as Kim Soo-yeon looks at the smiling Kang Sok, he can't help but think, how could a guy like this ever be a threat? Anyway, the quest to attend the Zhongbei meeting isn't finished yet. Kim Soo-yeon is dying to see what kind of ability he'll get this time. He figures he probably has to wait for the other schools to show up first. Just then, the boss of Zhongbei East High, Han Jae-ha, arrives with his crew. He sneers, "Oh, I see the pest is already here." Kang Sok calmly replies, "Hey now, saying stuff like that to a friend really hurts my feelings." One look at Han Jae-ha, and Kim Soo-yeon knows instantly, this guy is bad news. The three of them don't even have the guts to make eye contact with him. Suddenly, the quest window pops up. Mission complete. Reward: 1 gold card and 10 copper cards. Kim Soo-yeon jumps up immediately and shouts for the other two to get the hell out of there. But suddenly, Han Jae-ha grabs Kim Soo-yeon's neck in a vice grip. He growls that he only came to the Zhongbei meeting because of him. He heard the rumors about sweatshirt Kim Soo-yeon taking down Ji Yu-ha-jun. So, why don't you try knocking me on my ass too? Kim Soo-yeon seems to have figured out the quest window's annoying patterns by now. Without a doubt, a quest to defeat this guy is going to pop up in the next second. After all, the exact same thing happened when he ran into Ji Yu-ha-jun. If I want to refuse this fight, and still win, then I won't move a muscle, just so I don't trigger the quest. But to everyone else watching, this scene looks absolutely terrifying. The South High guys are stunned. Kim Soo-yeon isn't even flinching at Han Jae-ha. The others keep wondering what that vacant, unfocused stare of his represents. Wait, is he scanning for Han Jae-ha's weak points? Rumors really are true. This is the sweatshirt Kim Soo-yeon, the guy who'll go after your own family to get his target. A thought suddenly flashes through Kang Sok's mind. He'll wait for the two of them to tire each other out, then he'll swoop in and take them both down. Kim Soo-yeon just stands there like a statue, completely blank. Han Jae-ha mutters, "You're the first person who's ever had the balls to challenge me like this." But then, Han Jae-ha's subordinate steps in and tells them not to start a fight right now. Suddenly, Han Jae-ha grabs his subordinate's head with brute force. He's furious that a mere grunt had the nerve to interrupt him. But the lackey begs him to realize that Kang Sok is also right there. If he starts a brawl with Kim Soo-yeon now, Kang Sok will likely take advantage of the chaos and launch a sneak attack on both of them. Besides, there will be plenty of other chances to deal with Kim Soo-yeon after today. Hearing what his men had to say, Han Jae stormed out with a scowl on his face. Kang Sok gave a smirk and said, "Alright then, let's wrap up today's Gangbuk Summit right here." But the biggest takeaway of the day was that the crew from Gangbuk North High didn't even bother showing up. Kim Soo-yeon was over the moon. He didn't have to get his ass kicked and he still got the rewards. Seizing the moment, Kim Soo-yeon immediately used his peak skill on Kang Sok and the other leader. But to his shock, the attempt failed, and he couldn't see either of their status windows. The next morning, Kim Soo-yeon dragged his exhausted body to school. He hadn't slept a wink because he'd been stressing over that Gangbuk Summit all night. What bothered him even more was the fact that his peak skill had actually failed. It seemed like the system was telling him his level was too low to view their stats. So, is this skill based on how strong the target is compared to me, he wondered. If that was the case, those two must be way stronger than him. Once again, rumors of Kim Soo-yeon's heroic deeds at the Gangbuk Summit were spreading like wildfire. People were claiming that Kim Soo-yeon used his Dragon Tiger Fist to crush Han Jae in an instant. He didn't even have to guess. He knew Lee Hundong was the one running his mouth and spreading these lies. Kim Soo-yeon felt like he was about to go absolutely crazy. Some were even saying his Dragon Tiger Fist was a legendary technique he'd inherited from some secret master. After being tormented by the rumors and the stress, Kim Soo-yeon finally ended up getting sick. With a fever that just wouldn't break, he had no choice but to stay in the school's nurse's office. Kim Soo-yeon figured this was the perfect time for some solo card drawing. He decided to start with the gold card first. As soon as he flipped it, a gold card called Cardmaster appeared right before his eyes. This gold card allowed him to fuse or break down any leftover cards he had. After Kim Soo-yeon gave the command to open all his bronze cards, 10 mediocre bronze cards materialized in front of him. The only ones that seemed even remotely useful were a low-rank strength boost and a basic thank you card. Seeing that the rest of the cards were pretty much garbage, Kim Soo-yeon decided to fuse his two worst bronze cards together. A moment later, a brand new silver card flashed before his eyes. The new silver card was a boxing skill called the Straight. He sighed in relief. Finally, he had a new move besides just the basic jab. Kim Soo-yeon then gave the heir a quick test punch to try out the new technique. Now, his mom had always told him never to gamble since he was a kid. But the returns from this card master skill were looking way better than he'd imagined. I mean, using skill cards doesn't really count as gambling, right? He told himself. Without another thought, he used 4 more bronze cards for another fusion. But when he saw the result, he froze in his tracks. It was because the effects of these two silver cards had absolutely nothing to do with fighting. Who the hell is gonna think about playing soccer while they're getting beaten up? Kim Soo-yeon thought about maybe just holding onto the silver cards for now. What if I fuse them and end up with a crappy gold card, he worried. But if I get a good one, everything will be fine, he reasoned. As Kim Soo-yeon activated the card master's fusion ability once more, a gold card suddenly flashed into existence right in front of him. Kim Soo-yeon was terrified to even look at what he'd ended up creating. But driven by curiosity, Soo-yeon eventually opened his eyes. To his surprise, the card he'd pulled was a gold card called, Master, Please. Soo-yeon felt a bit shy about it. This didn't exactly look like a real fighting card. But when he tried slapping himself, absolutely nothing happened. Wait, does this skill not work if I'm the one doing the hitting? And since it's called, Master, Please, does that mean I'm supposed to become a slave or something? Just then, a notification for a main quest popped up. Soo-yeon looked at the new mission with a wave of excitement. After all, he'd need a lot more cards if he wanted to keep combining them. The mission was to recruit 4 members, and the reward was 1 gold card. For someone like Soo-yeon, recruiting members didn't seem like it would be that hard. As long as they agreed to follow him, they'd officially become part of his crew. Looking at it that way, this quest seemed like a total piece of cake. Just as he said that, Lee Yundong showed up with some medicine to check on him. Soo-yeon casually asked him, "Hey, do you want to join my crew?" The medicine in Yundong's hand suddenly hit the floor with a thud. He was stunned. Was Soo-yeon finally starting to recruit people to unite Northern Gangbuk? Yundong stood at attention and gave Soo-yeon a serious, formal greeting. But still, would recruiting people so randomly like this just end up making things a mess? That night, Soo-yeon lay on his chair, lost in thought for a long time. He knew he had to find people that the system would actually approve of. Ideally, people with really strong stats. Suddenly, a shadow loomed over Soo-yeon. Turned out Baek Chai-rin lived in this neighborhood too. Chai-rin couldn't understand why Soo-yeon was hanging out here all alone in the middle of the night. Not wanting any trouble, she quickly said her goodbyes to him. But right then, Soo-yeon remembered something important. He actually asked Chai-rin if she could slap him in the face. He really wanted to test out the effects of this perverted skill. But Chai-rin completely misunderstood. She thought he'd figured out her own secret little hobby. So, she nervously asked if he wanted her to curse at him while she hit him. Soo-yeon just told her that if he got hit, something good might happen. Hearing his confirmation, Chai-rin didn't hesitate and got ready to strike. But a voice suddenly cut them both off. A group of delinquents mocked him, saying they didn't realize Soo-yeon enjoyed being a punching bag. Soo-yeon recognized them immediately. They were the same punks he'd trashed last time. Were they really camping out here just to get their revenge on him? Right then, the system issued a new side quest. Defeat 5 delinquents and 1 boss to earn 1 silver card. Soo-yeon had already beaten these guys before, so that part was easy. He figured all he had to do this time was take down their leader and he'd be set. But then, a massive, towering figure stepped out from behind the group. It was Park Sang-hyuk from Gangbuk East High. Soo-yeon immediately used his peak skill on the guy. It looked like Sang-hyuk wasn't the brightest bulb in the box, but he was huge. But their strength and stamina were way higher than his. After all, you don't just run into someone with grade B strength at school every day. Just as he was about to make his move, Baek Chai-rin suddenly stepped out and blocked him. That's when I remembered, Chai-rin was still right here with me. Come to think of it, Chai-rin has a lot of powerful connections. If she could handle this, I wouldn't have to take a beating. But to my surprise, these guys didn't even know who she was. They even had the nerve to suggest taking Chai-rin away for some private time. Seeing Chai-rin about to walk straight into a trap, Kim Soo-yeon lunged forward instantly. But what met him instead was a devastating punch from Park Sang-hyuk. Looking at Kim Soo-yeon clutching his stomach, unable to move, Park Sang-hyuk sneered, "I thought you said you cleared out all of Gangbuk West High? The only thing you cleared out was the high school toilets, you loser." Standing by his side, Chai-rin frantically asked if he was okay. But Soo-yeon could only mutter something about his stomach over and over. Chai-rin thought his stomach was seriously injured. In reality, Soo-yeon's stomach felt incredibly good. For some reason, getting hit actually felt amazing. In fact, the more Park Sang-hyuk hit him, the better his body felt. By now, the skill had already been triggered 5 times. The good luck effect from the Master's card was finally activated. This time, one of Soo-yeon's stats would receive a random boost. In the blink of an eye, Soo-yeon's fist appeared right in front of Park Sang-hyuk's face. The sheer force of the punch sent the guy flying several meters back. That's because Soo-yeon's strength had just jumped from grade E all the way to grade C. Now, Soo-yeon could finally confirm one thing to Chai-rin, and that was, getting beat up feels freaking fantastic. With his current stats, he might actually have a real shot at taking down Park Sang-hyuk. Soo-yeon quickly tightened his shirt. In a flash, he threw a lightning-fast jab at one of the thugs. Soo-yeon knew he couldn't keep fighting them all at once. He had to find a narrow spot like last time, so he could take them on one-on-one. To his shock, the jab he used just to keep them back ended up being a one-hit kill. So this is the incredible power granted by the Master's card. At that moment, Suyin completely gave up on the idea of splitting them up. He told Chai Rin to close her eyes and wait. After all, a lady shouldn't have to watch such a brutal scene. With his new strength, he was sure he could crush Park Sang-hyuk. But after throwing his next punch, Suyin froze in his tracks. Because his strength had suddenly plummeted from grade C back down to grade E. Suyin realized too much time had passed, and the card's effect had worn off. He needed the card to recharge. But no matter how many hits he took from the enemy after that, the Master's card didn't show a single spark of reaction. Kim Suyin, completely clueless, could only beg the guy to just hold on for a second. I mean, do these cards need some kind of special trigger to actually work? But if I lose right now, then Baek Karen behind me is going to be in serious danger. Just then, Park Sang-hyuk noticed Baek Karen running toward them. He told her to wait, saying he'd play with her after he finished off Kim Suyin. Just as Park Sang-hyuk went in for the kill, he was totally stunned. Because Kim Suyin's fist suddenly appeared right in front of his eyes. That heavy, powerful punch slammed straight into Park Sang-hyuk's face. In that moment, Kim Suyin finally figured out the secret to those 5 stacks. It was the sheer humiliation of being beaten up right in front of a girl. Seeing his end was near, Park Sang-hyuk still tried to go for a desperate tackle. Kim Suyin immediately triggered his over-the-limit ability. Right then, he felt as heavy and immovable as a massive boulder. With the power he had from over the limit, plus the extra strength given to him by the card, Kim Suyin's strength stat actually reached a terrifying rank A. Soon, the notification sound for completing the side quest rang in his ears. After finishing the quest, he also received a silver card. Next day, Kim Suyin headed back to school just like any other day. But before he could even react, Baek Karen slapped him hard across the face. She demanded to know what the hell was wrong with him. Why is the entire school saying that the two of us are dating? Kim Suyin didn't even have to think. He knew Lee Hyeondong was behind this again.